All right, it's my pleasure to introduce and bring into 49ers Talk Greg Bethune. And Greg, obviously, you're the father of Tatum Bethune, and I can tell that you're at a field right now that might have some historical significance for the 49ers. Can you tell me where you're at right now?
So I'm at Pembroke Pines Optimist, where I've been a coach here for 20 plus years. And I guess the historical perspective for the Niners is that this produced Nick Bosa and Tatum Bethune.
Yeah, oh, that's great. Okay, so I don't know if you remember this, but back in 2019, before that draft, I was doing a big story on Nick Bosa, and I asked the family, like, could you give me some people, some phone numbers, some contact information for
Yes.
individuals who've been influential in Nick's life, and you were the number one person that they gave. So this is actually the second time or third time that we've spoken, but I want to go back to draft night. And you were invited into the green room when the 49ers selected Nick Bosa number 2 overall. And this is what Nick had to say about you then. He said about you, he had such a big impact on me. I love football because of him. I feel like when you're a kid, it's really important to have a really good coach because you can either start out loving it or you can start out being indifferent. Just having him start my career with a love for the game, that's continued throughout my life. So did you even know how influential you were with Nick Bosa?
I didn't know to that extent. I know that past his playing time with me, we remained very close with the family because I also coached Joey, which is his older brother. So, I knew we were close, but I didn't know that the impact was as profound as, he eloquently stated. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so you were there in Nashville that night.
Yes.
Was there any thought in your mind that a few years later, 5 years later, your son could have his name called in the NFL draft?
You know what? I know at that time, Tatum was very deep into football. And, we were trying to, get ready for like the college ranks. And when you play, it's always a hope or a dream in the back of your mind. But, I never thought in a million years that I would be playing with Nick in San Francisco. So it's been definitely a blessing.
And what Nick said about you, how important was that for you, not only with kids who weren't your son, but even your son, not to push football too hard, to let him enjoy it on his own and not see it as anything other than what it's supposed to be?
Well, my mantra is that when we coach kids, we're not trying to coach football players. We're trying to raise responsible young men. Football is the only game, in my opinion, that parallels life the way it does. You're going to face adversities. What are you going to do? You have an option of quitting or persevering or fighting through. We teach the young men that one day you're going to be somebody's husband, somebody's father, and it's important that the skills that you learn by playing in football that you can apply to your regular life. So for us, it's never about just football. It's about raising young men to be responsible and productive citizens after football.
Is that something that you said you've been coaching there for a couple decades? Is that something that have you kind of tailored the message through the years? Are you constantly evolving as a coach to figure out how to best attract those young men?
No, the thing about football is the basics about football is blocking, tackling, and knowing your assignment. And it's the same message from us as far as our mission for these young men. Everybody that we coach is not going to be a professional football player, but they're all going to grow up and be young men. So the message is always going to be that. If I stop coaching today, that will be the message. And if I coach another 10 years, it's going to be the same message.
And you have a history. You're an administrator, educator in Miami-Dade schools, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what your role has been there through the years?
Well, I've started out as a teacher, of course, naturally, and then I moved up to an assistant principal, and I was a principal for 11 years, 9 of those years at Miami Central Senior High School. And then now I'm an administrative director where I oversee 114 schools in the Dade County area.
Wow. And also there's a background of a college, a well-known college, right? Bethune-Cookman. Can you tell me about the family ties there?
Yeah, so just briefly, we're related to Mary McLeod Bethune, who founded Bethune-Cookman University, as it's called today. Back then, it was Bethune-Cookman College, and we're proud of that heritage. We're proud of that lineage, and we strive every day to uphold, those principles of education first, and all of the things that we do.
How do you see Tatum, his background with the family, the values, the emphasis on education? How do you see that relate to him as a football player?
Well, he knows that, and they all knew. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter, and they all participated in athletics and activities, and they knew it was books first. The extracurricular activities were sort of a reward. So he knows the value of it, but what's translated over is the study, the attention to detail that he has to pay to his preparation for football. It's the same way he had to prepare for school. If he had tests or he had assignments that he had to do, there was never a last-minute situation. It was always, we have to prepare for this ahead of time, and it's translated over in his preparation for football.
Was there a point in whether his high school career or his college career at University of Central Florida or later at Florida State where you thought, okay, he's on the path, he can play in the NFL?
Well, we always talked about the defining moment. They're going to be defining moments in your life that's going to let you know, whether you can play in that league. And I can say that defining moment for him probably came once he got to the league. But he's always prepared himself. He's always worked harder than everybody else because he was always, overlooked. People never really gave him the credit he deserved, or they found a reason to knock him because he was my son. He was the principal's son. So, of course, he wasn't supposed to be that great. He didn't have a flashy nickname or have some machine behind him pushing his name. So he took the long road, the blue-collar road. But that's what made him the way he is now. That's why he's callous to a lot of things. He can exist above the noise, and he's always going to thrive in those situations because nothing came for him easy.
Were you in Tampa Bay at that game?
Yes.
And what was your thought when the horrible incident happened and Fred Warner was injured?
Well, my first thoughts and prayers went out to Fred because he's been a tremendous, I want to say friend, but like mentor to Tatum. That was my first thought. And then, I said a prayer for Tatum to make sure that, God protected him and covered him while he was out there. And the football part is always going to take care of itself. We have a discussion all the time about prepare like you're the starter because you're just an injury away from being it. And it happened. So I wasn't nervous about his preparation. I wasn't nervous about his performance because at every level he's performed. And when his time is called, he's always ready.
Yeah, and that first start coming on Sunday night football, national television audience against the Atlanta Falcons. Were you able to make it to Santa Clara for that game, or did you watch it on TV?
No, I didn't make it. I was trying to sneak in and surprise him, but I had a meeting that I couldn't get out of on Monday for such late notice. So I wasn't able to come.
I know one of the things that Coach Kyle Shanahan said was that, with the week of practice and being buttoned up on the assignments and seeing it play out on the practice field the way it would play out in the game, that was going to be a huge benefit for Tatum. Is that how you saw it too, as far as just the level of his preparedness for that game?
When I talked to him throughout the week, the level of confidence he had in his voice, the things that we spoke about in private, I can always tell when he's ready. And pregame warm-ups, I can watch the bounce in his step. If it's lacking or if it's, the way he moves, I know that he's ready or that he may be missing something that day. But everything that I know as an indicator showed me that he was going to perform well.
Wearing that green dot, that's quite an assignment, playing the middle linebacker position and communicating and making sure everybody's on the same page. What makes Tatum uniquely qualified to wear that green dot at the NFL level?
Like I said, Tatum is a very cerebral player. He breaks down things. He looks at it from a coach's lens. We've always had a conversation about seeing things through the eyes of your coordinator. If you're going to be the guy that calls the plays, you have to see things that the way they see it so that you can envision it when they make that play call. You know what his intended purpose is. So that's the way he prepares. That's the way he's always prepared. And hopefully, this will be a continuation moving forward.
Yeah, as a person with your coaching background, when you watch the San Francisco 49ers team and you see the level of really star players, including Nick Bosa, who's been injured, and you see the backups step in and play the way they have, including your son, what does that tell you about this team right now, the 49ers? They're 5-2 after 7 games.
Well, it tells you a lot about their process. They're going in and they're doing their due diligence on the players that they're bringing into camp. They're bringing in people as depth pieces that can potentially be starters in other organizations, and that's a testament to that's a great accomplishment in their process. So I have a lot of respect for them. I know when we got drafted, the first thing Ms. Bosa said that this was an outstanding organization from top to bottom, and she hasn't been wrong.
I've heard Tatum described as an introvert off the field and an extrovert on the field. Do you think that's a fair assessment of him?
It's definitely Jekyll and Hyde. He's not a very talkative person. We actually had to work on getting him to be able to speak in front of the cameras. Not so much just being comfortable with expressing himself. He doesn't like all the fanfare. Not a flashy guy. Just straight blue collar about his approach. But on the field, he's the kind of kid that, he'll tear his mom's head off if he has to, if she wears a different colored jersey. That's his approach.
Well, I hope you saw his press conference after the game when he stood up there at the podium. He handled himself very well, and he looked and sounded like a team leader. So I'm sure you're very proud about that.
Yeah. Very proud of him.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was very proud of him.
Yeah. Hey, Coach Greg, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on a successful program that you've run there. And then 49er fans, I think, are forever indebted to you for supplying them with Nick Bosa and the great seasons he's had, and now Tatum Bethune, your son. So thank you very much for joining me.
Go Niners.